So, good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? Welcome to Contractor Chat. First of all, let me know if you can hear me. I don't have my mic hooked up. I was doing some cleaning, rearranging, and I didn't get a chance to reestablish my mic. I have my cameras set up in two different places, and so I'm looking two different directions this morning. Sorry. Happy New Year's to those in government contracting, because today is the first day of the government fiscal year. Woo! And we have a lot going on for there to be a new year. We want to keep those just going through because of the storm. I'm in North Carolina now. Thankfully, I wasn't that adversely affected by the storm. However, I'm not that far from some of the affected areas. So keep them in mind. There are individual companies that are jumping in to service those areas affected. They have mobilized their crews to take in water and food to help clear roads, reestablish connections so people can be evacuated, the wounded can receive medical care. That's one of the benefits of starting and operating your own business. You can be, good morning, Amber. You can be a solution for your community in times of crisis. You can say, I, as a business owner, can offer my service in a time of crisis. This is a time we are supposed to stand up and step in and say, yes, I'm answering that call. And I am so thankful that so many small and mid-sized businesses are stepping in and filling in that gap. There are some creators here on TikTok and even on LinkedIn that are being sources and resources of help. They have flown in helicopters to evacuate people and deliver supplies. And I think that is great that they have done that. There are times when, quite frankly, the government cannot, will not, and just aren't capable of servicing all the areas. Point blank, period. It just is what it is. Not to make this a political point, but it just is what it is. The sheriff's department is spread thin. Our rescue teams are spread thin. So the businesses that have been able to step up and do a job has been extraordinary. I just wanted to say that if you want to help, you can reach out to several businesses. I'm going to do a little research and add that information out there where you can donate directly to organizations that are boots on the ground. I know a church that I, volunteer at. They're gotten volunteers together to load a trailer of food, water, and volunteers to go into that area. So I'll let you know how you can donate. Anybody who wants to donate can do so through that organization. Like I said, I donate to them. I volunteer. So I know that the money that you donate, the resources you donate actually get to that area. And it's not just the money, it's the boots on the ground. They actually load up the tractor trailers and put them there in the area to distribute the food, to distribute the clothing. And they have done it time and time again. It's a church that I volunteer with on a regular basis. So I know they're doing the work. So back to our regular scheduled program. Today is day one of the government fiscal year. And the new government budget is in play. So we're no longer in low-hanging fruit season. We're in Q1 of the government fiscal year. What does that mean for government contractors? That means you're starting all over again. That means at this point in time, at this period in time, you need to have your contracting plan and you need to be executing that plan. And what does that plan look like? Did you do the work? Did you create that strategic plan? If you haven't, today is the day that the Contractors Challenge opens. Tonight, I'm going live with our intro call, our introduction enrollment call. It's an enrollment call for those who haven't enrolled. And for everybody else, it's an introduction call. The first live training drops Monday. So there's still time for you to enroll and get in if you want to be a government contractor and you want to do it right. And you're tired of just throwing stuff at the wall hoping it sticks. There's more to government contracting than throwing something in AI, generating a proposal that's going to sound like everybody else's proposal. You don't want a hello beautiful proposal. You want a proposal that distinguishes you from the crowd. And I know that they're teaching this, just put the RFP in ChatGPT and let it generate your response. Well, if you're doing that and you're sitting in a group of 200 people and they're doing that, that just means there's 200 proposals that sounds alike. You get what I'm saying? So ChatGPT, and I'm not an anti-AI, I'm saying you still need to distinguish your voice from everybody else. What makes you stand out? And even if you win, do you have your systems and your business and everything else set up in the right way? Do you know the rules of the land? And if you don't, then all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. You're going to win a contract that you can't perform on because you didn't bother to learn the rest of it. So join the contracting challenge, join the contractors call I'm having tonight to break down the challenge, the purpose of the challenge, and everything else. If you're in the Atlanta area on the 18th, I'm doing a seminar workshop, contracting and the benefits for small business. You can go to my website. All of my upcoming events are on there. This government fiscal year, they're really pushing businesses to become certified in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm still anti-certification. Hear me out, walk with me. I'm not anti-certification for the sake of it. I'm anti-certification from the viewpoint of getting certified without ensuring that your systems are compliant don't make sense. You have to ensure that your overall company is stable and consistently strong. So you can have every certification in the world. However, if you don't have an accounting system that is compliant, if you don't have your policies and procedures in order, if you're not sure that you're adhering to FAR and CAS, the certification is mute. So you have to ensure you're checking all of the boxes, not just the ones you think will shortcut you. You can't skip steps in the process and then be surprised when you don't yield the proper results. My mentor talked about he used the analogy of making a cake. You put some flour and an egg and some milk in it, but then you want to add some rice, beans, and dirt, and then you wonder why it doesn't taste right. Well, you had some of the right ingredients, but then you decided to add a few more, or you decided to take out some others, and then you wonder why it doesn't taste like cake. Because you didn't follow the steps. You don't have the right order. And I know there's some that's going to say, well, you can replace sugar with applesauce, but there's still an order, there's still a step. Because if you don't put the right amount of applesauce in that cake, it's still a mess. Because in order for the applesauce to replace the sugar, you have to make an adjustment somewhere else so that the cake bakes up and firms up. Otherwise, it's wet and gooey. So you still need to know the order. You still need to make the proper adjustments. You still have to have compliance somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not anti-certifications for the sake of it. I'm saying you have to have all of your systems in order. It has to be a holistic approach, not a, I'm a pick and choose what I want to do because it's comfortable and this gives me the warm fuzzies, but this doesn't. So I'm gonna skip this process, but not this. That just isn't how it works. So for those of you just joining us, welcome this morning to Contracting Chatter. Contracting Chatter is where we discuss everything government contracting and legislation. We talk about things going through the legislation. Now we know we're in an election cycle. We're getting ready to vote for the president, and there's also some congressional seats up for grab. There's also our local elections going on. Keep an eye on your local elections because they also influence your business. This is not a political platform. This is a platform where we discuss government contracting, and we also discuss the effects of legislation on business and how we should adjust ourselves so that we remain compliant with what's going down the road. There are enough political pundits running around here. We don't need another one. On occasion, I do talk about politics just from the perspective of how it affects the average business and how you need to adjust your strategic plan. Just like I did an assessment of the Democratic National Convention, the Republican National Convention, because the person who sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has influence over budget. They have influence over Congress and Senate. And whether Democrat or Republican, they influence how the dollars are spent. And that affects business. They have influence over legislation. That influences business. So depending on how they choose to use that influence affects the flow and changes in regulations. And depending upon those regulation changes, what you need to do, what you need to know to ensure that you stay 2 steps ahead of the game and ensure that whatever strategic analysis that you need to make in your business. Now, I am going to make a change to this format. Excuse me. I am going to make a change to this format where after the challenge or during the challenge, I'm going to do a little bit. Who I'm voting for is irrelevant. That's not the purpose of this platform. I was just talking about the stance each candidate takes affects the flow of government contracts. Democrats tend to spend more on social programs. Republicans tend to spend more on defense. So if you're a government contractor, you need to know how to create your strategic or your contracting plan to adjust accordingly. That was the purpose of my statement. not to say vote one way or the other, just so that you can prepare your contracting plan accordingly. That was the purpose of that statement. And it shouldn't matter who anybody votes for in the grand scheme of things. That's such a small part of who people are. I also want to talk about people need to be aware of their local legislation, because a simple rezoning can keep you from working from home. A simple rezoning can make it so that your apartment community, you have to move because they've rezoned it and made it commercial. So you need to keep informed of what's going on locally as well. So who's running for election on your local level? Keep that in mind. Attend your local events as business owners. That's how you form strategic partnerships. I talked about that in my Contracting and Business Week. Strategic partnerships are paramount for businesses. Business was never meant to be done in isolation. It's meant to be done in terms of teaming agreements. It's meant to be done in partnerships. And what I mean by partnership is simply this: not always you're going to be working in tandem with somebody. However, someone can introduce you to someone that has a solution for you. You may be in need of someone who can provide a service, and you met someone at a networking event. You met somebody at your local chamber of commerce. You met someone at your budget hearing at one of your local events, and they were able to introduce you to someone who was the answer to your problem. You need a new accountant. You need a new tax professional. And I want to talk about that. Every accountant is not a tax professional. Every tax professional is not a tax advisor. There comes a time where you need to upgrade. Okay. You need to upgrade who your resources are. Well, these strategic introductions are helpful. You can always reach out to that network. Well, if you don't attend these events, you can't meet anybody and grow your business network. Your friends and your family are just that, your friends and your family. They're not the people that you would go to for a business connection necessarily. I know when I'm thinking of something in business, I don't go to my mother and my sister. I reach out to my business network. When I am looking for a mindset coach or a leadership coach, I don't go to my sister. I reach out to my business community. It's just as simple as that. I'm bidding on a contract right now, and I need certain skill sets that I don't possess, certain skill sets that I possess, but that I'm not optimal in, or certain skill sets that I'm not going to perform on this contract. Guess what I did? I reached out to my community, my business community, and said, I am in need. And guess what? That community rallied. And they referred me to other people. But if you never attend networking events, if you never attend your local chamber of commerce events, if you never attend your local, your local government hosts these business events quarterly. I know sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's quarterly, depending on who's hosting them. You never build that community. So you're always sitting in isolation, attempting to find resources, when if you attend these events, you can build that network and you're not sitting in isolation trying to find a resource. So let this year be a new year. Build your network. Attend these events. And instead of sitting there wondering for the answer, you can just reach out to your network and ask for the answer. This is what we're doing this year. We're taking everything to a higher level. We have to go higher this year. Contracting chatter, we're focusing on compliance a lot more this year. What I'm back in, I'm here back in. I've received some requests to talk about compliance a little more. So you'll hear me talk about compliance a lot more on this platform. So there's going to be a lot more, compliance information shared with you on Contracting Chatter. We're going to talk about government compliance and business compliance, because a non-compliance is expensive. A non-compliance will take away your hard-earned revenue. A non-compliance is enough, if egregious enough, to shut your business down. And for those of us who have worked hard on our businesses, we don't ever want to see that happen. So we're going to focus on, and we're going to hear a lot more content around compliance in government contracting and in business in general in this upcoming season. Listen to my podcast, Contractors Conversation. It's on Spotify, YouTube podcast. You can catch the video, Spotify for audio podcasting. I have some great interviews scheduled. The new season I'm recording, so the new recordings will drop soon. But there's some great content on there now. And it's enough to get you started. If you go to my link tree on TikTok, everyone else, you can go straight to my website. You can go to my training center. In the training center, I have something that I call 3 types of government contractors. I tell everybody you need to start there and find out what kind of contractor you are. I'm wrapping up with this note. Find out what type of contractor you are. Are you a novelty contractor? Are you a contracting business? Or are you just... And when you decide what type of contractor you are, then you can take the appropriate steps. So I'm going live again tonight, where we're going to do not only a welcome to FY 2026, which is a setup for the new government fiscal year. We're also going to talk about the contracting challenge that opens today. Now it's time. There's still time for people to register for the challenge. The first challenge lesson drops Monday. The way the challenge is set up, your assignment drops on Monday, live Q&A on Wednesday, and I'm giving open office hours on Friday. There is an investment for the challenge. So if you go to my website, all that information is on the website. So with that, I invite you to join me again tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another installment of Contracting Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner of the LT&A Consulting Group, and have an amazing new year in government contracting.